And lastly, in the sad story of the Brooklyn Nets, and maybe this should have been the first part of the story, but the last thing I want to talk about is the misguided decision to make Steve Nash the coach. Steve Nash was a horrible coach. Should have never had the job. I mean, he just looked in over his head from the start. If Steve Nash didn't have KD and Kyrie, his record would probably be horrible as a coach. But he had those two guys, and he had James Harden at a point, and that kind of helped him get wins. But that's the only reason he got wins. Dude couldn't coach to save his life. He couldn't coach a little girl's basketball team. He couldn't coach a little boys' basketball team if they were the only boys' team in an all-girls league. It's a horrible coach. When I really, really knew he sucked as a coach, I can't remember the exact minute because I'd have to go back and watch. But it was the game 7 against the Bucks. There was a point in that game, in that fourth quarter, when the Nets were up by I believe it was 5 or 6 points. Late in the fourth, maybe in about 2 minutes to go. And now, I remember my first thought was, this game is over. Because every time Giannis touches the ball, I would have fouled him. Just like how Greg Popovich would have probably done. The greatest coach ever. But what did Steve Nash do? He just allowed them to play it out. I believe they were up by 5 and not 6. He allowed them to just play. I think they went up by 5 in the very next play. Chris Middleton hit a 3. And then I think like the next play, Giannis might have scored a 2 to tie it up. But my thing was like, if in that moment, when they went up by 5, they would have just fouled Giannis and played the free throw game every time. One, Milwaukee would have either had to make a decision to either take Giannis out if he was not making the free throws, or to not put the ball in his hands at all. But no, Steve Nash just decided to let him play it out, and that 5-point lead evaporated faster than a drop of water in the desert sun. I mean, I really never felt like Steve Nash was a good coach. He clearly proved he was a horrible coach. And I really feel like if the Nets had a good coach, when they had Kyrie and Harden and KD, outside of the injuries, I feel like a good coach would have gotten that team to the finals. Steve Nash at one point went, I believe, the Nets had an 11-game losing streak with Steve Nash as the coach. Greg Popovich can take the bench players and get a win. He can take subpar players into a game and still come out with a win. If not a win, a very, very close loss. And I don't believe that he would have allowed his team to suffer an 11-game losing streak. When your team loses 11 straight with players who are honestly an actual NBA players, not just some G Leaguers, you gotta look at the coach and say, yo, does this guy know how to coach? Because you should be able to at least get one win within them 11 games, at least one. I'm just pointing that out to show that this was another instance where I knew Nash was a horrible coach. And I really feel like part of why the Nets never reached the heights that they should have reached, they never attained that glory that we believe that they could have gotten, was because they had the worst coach in the NBA at the time. And it's sad because by having that worst coach and getting the results that they got, a lot of those players wanted to go. They said it was dysfunction, but I feel like the only dysfunction would have been the coach, because usually a coach is responsible for keeping an organization, or at least the players and their minds, focused. With the players on Brooklyn, it's like they knew they had a coach that had no direction, a coach that didn't make anybody better. And I think that they knew that he wasn't the right captain to steer the ship. And so I believe that a lot of the players, either like Harden, either just figure, you know what, I don't want to be here. He misused LaMarcus Aldridge. He misused Blake Griffin. In the series where they got swept by Boston, he's got 3 guards in, while Boston has 3 guys that are probably 6'6" and better. He chooses to put in 3 guys that are like 6'3" and under. Horrible coach. I really feel like Steve Nash is probably the main reason why the Nets failed as a team. And he's probably the saddest part of the sad story, is that we were stuck with Nash for way too long. They should have never given him the job, and they should have never stuck with him even after his first season. And I really feel like Nash helped to torpedo the ship. And that's just, it's really sad, because the Nets could have really been something. And now the future looks very uncertain. Steve Nash is gone. Jacque Vaughn's a good coach, but now Kyrie is gone. Obviously, Harden's been gone. They're trying their best to hold on to Kevin Durant. And hopefully things do work out for the best and the team can win a championship in the near future. But they squandered the opportunity by having Steve Nash as the coach. But y'all, let me know how y'all feel about that. Let me know how y'all feel about Steve Nash. Let me know what y'all think about the Nets. You know, they say like, comment, subscribe. We're going to talk a lot more about other teams. I just wanted to start off this push that I'm going to be making, you know, talking about Brooklyn, because that's where I'm from. You know what I mean? So, Brooklyn, stand up. And the rest of y'all do y'all thing. Like, comment, subscribe. We're going to talk more.